Thank you, everybody, for coming to the fourth installment of the Missing Middle Summit 2026. So just out of curiosity, by a show of hands, who here is here for the first time? This is your first Missing Middle Summit. Okay, this is actually better than I thought. This is maybe 40% of the room, which is great. It's always good to know that the event itself is growing. We started this thing in 2023. So actually, you know, I should have asked if there was a clicker. But we'll go to the next slide. So we started this thing in 2023. The interesting thing about 2023 is that the conference happened to land 1 week after the first multiplex bylaw was passed by council. So for those of you who've been paying attention for at least that long, this was like a major change in tone from city council versus what had happened before, which was this kind of like desire to maintain and respect and reinforce the stability of neighborhoods. The multiplex bylaw was really a break with that. It followed, of course, laneway suites, garden suites, but the multiplex bylaw I saw as the first crack in what we call the yellow belt and the kind of the emergence of what is now a pretty dynamic and interesting industry of missing middle housing developers, and of course all the consultants, designers, lenders, lawyers, and so on that support them. So this event is really for this industry that is growing, that has been growing over those 4 years. Next slide, please. So once again, this is how far we've come. Since then, of course, we've had multiplex permissions increase from 4 units to 6 units. We've had this definition of like a houseplex and a semi-detached houseplex where 2 fourplexes could be squeezed together. Things have progressively gone in the right direction for us to see more missing middle housing. This venue, by the way, which is very, I think, beautiful and it's a newly renovated venue, I don't know if it's too on the nose, but the point we were trying to make by being on the 60th floor, thank you, that's great, is that we're on the 60th floor. If you look that way, we have a bunch of high-rise towers. This is the financial center where people work. Here, kind of like going up Yonge, you'll see a good amount of like tall mid-rise, lower high-rise. But then if you look in that corner, and certainly if you look this way, there's a lot of like 1-, 2-story detached and semi-detached housing. You kind of also see this if you fly out of Billy Bishop. This is still a city where the middle is missing. And we like to joke every year that our aspiration with this conference, with this industry, is that at some point it's just called the Middle Conference, right? And that it's no longer missing. So this is what we're trying to do. Policy has moved. Now delivery has to follow. So as all the builders in the room know, it's one thing for something to be permitted. It's something else for you to actually go out, raise money, find a site, underwrite it, work with your team, and build it cost effectively so that you could do it again. And a big part of this event is to have people from every discipline really that you need to touch on to get a project from acquisition through to stabilization. And for you to connect and trade notes with them. So we really want this to be about knowledge sharing, about networking. If it's not obvious, this is not an industry where anyone has to think too competitively. If I build a sixplex, there are still more people for your sixplex. I think we all benefit by trading notes and making sure that we're all kind of rowing in the same direction here. 3 lenses for the day. So this might be my bias. There's a lot of very practical discussions that we're going to hear, again, from architects, from builders, from lenders, from lawyers. What I'm really curious and interested in is what we're seeing in policy and what we expect to see in policy coming forward. So the 3 big themes I wanted to highlight were, 1, transit station areas. We'll hear a talk about that, so I won't go into it too heavily, but we are expecting to see more generous missing middle permissions within protected major transit station areas, which just means the geography within the city where we could build more than a house, even more than a multiplex, but maybe less than like a tall mid-rise will expand, and I think that's very positive. Mid-rise feasibility. So again, all the builders, all the architects know that there are a lot of requirements when building missing middle or mid-rise housing. Some of these requirements are being revisited to ensure the economic viability of these projects. So we'll hear from Greg Ewens and Graham Haynes at the city on this. And in building code review. So in parallel to these municipal efforts, there is a provincial effort to review the Ontario Building Code. The building code, I like to say, was really optimized for subdivision, low-rise builders and high-rise builders, and like nobody, thought about the missing middle because the middle has been missing. So it's a very challenged section of the building code. Like there are many, many times when planning allows you to build 4 stories where for code reasons you don't want to build 4 stories, you don't want to tip into part 3 of the building code. So we're going to talk a lot about that. We have Conrad Specker, who is of course great on this. And again, taking this all together, what I hope to see and what I expect to see is that when we regroup 1 year from today, we'll have made that much more progress in policy, which means the industry itself could follow and just build more housing. A few quick notes. So again, half of the point of this conference is to listen to people on the stage, get to know them, learn something, and maybe catch up with them afterwards. The other half is really for the networking. So we have people, again, here from every discipline that touches missing middle housing development projects, and I really encourage you to make an effort to meet them. So we have a break at 10:40, we're gonna have lunch at 12:30, we'll have another break at 2:50, and then we're gonna make sure that we wrap up before 5 o'clock, maybe well before 5 o'clock, so there's plenty of time to catch up and chat before you have to head out. For those of you interested, downstairs there's a Joey's. And if you want to keep the conversation going and grab some drinks, we'll all head to Joey's afterward to keep chatting. One final very important word. So this conference is only really possible because of the support we get from our sponsors. So a few quick shout outs. Toronto Standard, this is my company. I should have introduced myself. My name is Chris Spoke. I'm a partner in a rental development company called Toronto Standard. For the 40% of you who weren't here last year, Neptus Foundation has been a huge supporter from the start. CMHC, glad to have on board. I should also mention, on top of all those policy areas, those 3 policy areas that I mentioned, CMHC is also doing a lot of very interesting work. Of course, we all rely on MLI Select, and if you don't know what that means, you certainly will by the end of the day. But CMHC has also been kind of very helpful in trying to ensure the viability of this scale of development. SR Law, we'll hear from Ben Singer on condominiumizing missing middle housing, which is something we're starting to see a little bit more of. Stucco Masters, Peak Hill Capital, an MLI Select lender. If you need construction financing, if you need term loans, you got to talk to Max at Peak Hill. Foremost Financial has been a huge supporter of ours from the start. We've done a lot of business with Foremost Financial. We have Matt Gonzalez and Max Miller from Foremost. PL Energy, right under CMHC, because we're all trying to qualify for the energy efficiency points. PL Energy helps us with that. Environmental Defense wrote this great mid-rise guide, which they have in the lobby if you want to pick it up. And it's, again, kind of going across policy, code, and all these other policy issues that we face as missing middle and mid-rise developers, and has some proposals for how we could resolve some of those. So they're excellent. And then Batory Planning and Management, Greg Ewan's there, will be speaking as well. Really big champions of the space. So thank you. If we could do a round of applause, actually, please, for our sponsors. And with that said, I'm going to be around all day, of course. If I don't have time to chat for a long time, it's usually because I'm trying to run back to the stage and make sure we're keeping this thing moving. But I'd love to catch up with every one of you during the breaks.